This is the story of how a mud-soaked mining camp somehow birthed both the American dream and some pretty horrifying nightmares. No, not just on TV, but in actual 1870s Deadwood. Sure, HBO's Deadwood gave us Shakespearean cursing, saloon barons, and enough grit to sandblast a pickup truck. But the true history is somehow even messier. Let's wade into the blood, whiskey, and gold dust to sort out what really happened in this lawless boomtown, compared to what you binge-watched on your couch last Saturday. Because some of those larger-than-life characters weren't just inspired by reality. They were yanked straight out of it, and their real stories might blindside you. We're tracking real violence, fake lawmen, and how the Wild West got turned into pop culture myth. First, Deadwood, South Dakota. On paper, it shouldn't exist. It was carved right into Lakota territory, breaking every treaty the U.S. had just put its John Hancock on. Gold was discovered there in 1874, courtesy of Custer's expedition. Yup, that Custer, the one with the infamous last stand. Word gets out, and by the following year, thousands have descended, hoping to strike it rich. Try picturing a town's population swelling from almost nothing to 10,000. Faster than you can say, gold rush. That chaos is exactly what made Deadwood different. The show gets the mood right. The mud, the anarchy, the way everything was basically up for grabs. Historian David Butterfield wrote that Deadwood had no legal existence. It was entirely outside the law, which is a fancy way of saying people partied, plotted, or killed, and nobody could do much about it. This sets the stage for Al Swearingen and Seth Bullock, two names you'll remember if the show left a mark. Al really did run the Gem Theater, which functioned less like today's multiplex and more like a vice buffet. Gambling, booze, brothels, the works. He was feared, but unlike his on-screen version, there's little hard evidence he killed quite so gleefully, or could weave profanity into poetry. As for Bullock, he definitely strode into town to open a hardware store. But the man was still packing a badge from his time in Montana. And damn if he didn't end up the reluctant law. The show exaggerates their rivalry, but the standoffs had basis in truth. Bullock's main worry, by his own account, was that a single spark could ignite the whole place. Now, Wild Bill Hickok. That's one spot where reality and the series overlap in haunting detail. Hickok arrived in 1876, trying and failing to leave behind his violent reputation. Within weeks, he was gunned down in Nuttall and Mann's saloon, shot in the back during a poker game, holding those infamous aces and eights, the dead man's hand. The difference? In real life, Calamity Jane wasn't at his side. We'll get to her. And his murderer, Jack McCall, did get caught, but escaped first by claiming it was revenge for his brother. He was retried, hanged, and buried with a gravestone marked, "Murdered by Jack McCall." That's about as direct as frontier justice got. Speaking of Calamity Jane, brace yourself. She did tumble through Deadwood during this fever dream period, drinking hard and spinning tales. But her romance with Hickok owes more to legend and Jane's own flair for self-mythologizing than anything in the record. She was tough, sure, and quite possibly braver than most men around. But her friendship with Wild Bill? Let's just say Mark Twain would have found the story a bit too tall. Quick checkpoint. So far we've seen how the real Deadwood was rawer, more anarchic, and somehow filthier than even HBO dared show. And yet the TV version nailed the ambition. Everyone wanted order, but nobody trusted how to get it. And every handshake was a coin flip between partnership and betrayal. If you love seeing how tiny tweaks topple empires, tap subscribe so you never miss the next domino. Back to the historical crucible. If Deadwood was a magnet for outlaws, con artists came along for the ride. E.B. Farnham, for example, really was mayor, a fact that boggles my mind, since even in 1876, you'd think people would notice the Weasley types. He bounced between public office and private grift until the feds finally showed up in 1877. That's when the true law arrived. Marshals, courts, and federal oversight. At first, the town hated it. But then most folks learned life got easier when you weren't dodging gunfire on Tuesday afternoons. One detail the show absolutely nails is the language. The insults, yes, but also the street dialect. Historian Peter Dexter points out that Deadwood was a collision of cultures. Swedish, German, Irish, Chinese, all jammed onto streets paved with ambition and horse manure. The tension, the possibility, the desperation, that's the truth under all the legend. So the next time you watch a barroom brawl or a power play between Bullock and Swearingen, remember the real Deadwood. It wasn't just swagger and shootouts. It was the wildest kind of improvisation, and sometimes that got people killed. Other times, it built a town that outlasted the gold. That's the story TV couldn't quite script, but damn if it didn't try.